This is not just a film about Dutch Shultz. It is a film about Dutch Shultz and the sets in which he lived and operated. Success in any line is a question of being on set. The director looks around at the set and says, I need you and you and you, but you don't belong on this set. Albert Stern, the teacher, is an example of someone who only got on set by mistake when he was sought by police as the gunman who shot Shultz. There is no reason to believe he ever shot anybody but himself. The sets are the medium in which the characters live that inexorably mold their accitons. When a character is no longer on set, he is finished. Special features of this film: the sets are presented first and the sets draw the character. This is done by preparing film loops for the three periods covered by the film: 1902-1919, the 1930s. The film loops consist of typical films of the period. These are for the most part made up, typical characters and scenes of the period, real or imaginary. Tie loop turns, wheels interlock, and the character is drawn on set. All the characters play more than one part. The main characters are Dutch Shultz and his mob, Joe No, Bo, and George Weinberg, Lulu Rosenkrantz, Abe Landau, Otto Abadaba Berman, Martin Krompier, Joey Roa, Larry Carney, Dutch's mouthpiece Dixie Davis, Jules Martin, summarily removed from set in an argument with the Dutchman. Defectors from Dutch's mob, characters and forces in opposition to him are Peter and Vincent Call, Arthur Palumbo, Charlie Fats McCarthy, Legs Diamond, the fighting district attorney. Forces in opposition to him are the growing power of the federal government in the 30s, rise of the G-men and the Treasury Department enforcement of income tax laws. The growing power of the syndicate as represented by Lepke the judge bookholder, Lucky Luciano, and Charlie Workman the syndicate killer. Neutral characters with important roles are Otto Gass, Dutch's first contact with the beer business, Tony Madden, through whom he was able to trace and eliminate Vincent Call. The enigmatic and disquieting character of Albert Stern the teacher exercises a secret influence. Why was he identified and sought as the killer of Dutch Shultz? Just who or what was the teacher? These questions remain at the film's end, which leaves the impression that he is Dutch's rejected alter ego. There are only two female characters in the film, Kiki Roberts, who puts the finger on Legs Diamond, and Dutch's wife, who may have put the finger on Dutch. In addition to the above, there are a number of anonymous gunmen, runners, enforcers, Negro, and white. As I have said, all the charlators take more than one part. Examples: the girl in the telephone exchange who traces Vincent Coyle's call to a drugstore phone booth on 23rd Street, is seen to be Kiki Roberts. The judge who sentences Dutch to a reformatory and later upbraids the jury for acquitting Shultz on income tax charges is Lepke Bookholder. The doctor who delivers Shultz is Albert Stern, who later appears as his teacher in Public School 12. The characters also play in the period film sets, in 1920 gangster films, in 1930 G-men and bank bandits sagas, and appear in the background shots. Vincent Call is a rowdy college boy in a raccoon coat, Abba Dabba a frantic broker in the 1929 crash, Charlie Workman a demonstrator in a 1930 strike, Legs Diamond a smooth playboy, etc. Or the characters may appear as anonymous members of a street crowd or background figures in a restaurant or nightclub. These appearances are brief, mere glimpses. The audience is not quite sure they have seen the same character in a different role. Line plot of the film can be drawn as a graph: Dutch's rise to power in the 1920s as he expands from one speakeasy to a beer empire. Setback graph down: the Call brothers start rival organizations and launch a reckless attack on the Dutchman. Shultz goes into hiding. Call eliminated. Dutch's graph soars to the peak of his power as he moves into numbers and labor rackets. Setback graph down. He is indicted for income tax evasion. The underworld thinks he is through. Dutch acquitted and stages comeback. Briefly his graph soars again like a rocket/finish. The film is entirely in black and white except for scenes involving bloodshed and death. It is a black and white world shot through with explosions of blood. The film turns on the last words of Dutch Shultz. Dutch was shot at 10:20 p.m., October 23, 1935. He died 20 hours later. A police stenographer at his bedside took down everything Dutch said, about 1,200 words. The last words of Dutch Shultz constitute a remarkable document, inspired delirium revealing the Dutchman as a potential artist. Rarely has the feeling of death been more vividly communicated. The secrets of life and death hover over these words. Opening scene shows two fat sloppy detectives sitting in straight back chairs. A thin dyspeptic police stenographer with steel-rimmed glasses, pen and clipboard sits to one side of the two detectives. One detective is smoking a cigar. The other stolidly chews gum. Faces of the two detectives are in shadow and the effect is that of a police lineup. It is not immediately evident that this is a hospital room. There are, however, hospital sound effects from the corridor. The two detectives are played by the same actors who will later appear as Abe Landau and Lulu Rosenkrantz. Their faces are not clearly seen and somewhat altered. In this scene and others where an actor appears in more than one role, alterations in appearance suggest for example when Shultz appears different background. Briefly, as a successful industrialist in the Shea Robert scene, he is heavier, softer, less alert. In some cases the appearance is so altered that the audience will not identify the actor as the same person but will simply experience a déjà vu sensation. Or the appearance may be too brief for positive identification. Voice of Dutch Shultz, mother is the best bet, oh mama mama mama. Police stenographer writes this down. First detective, taking cigar out of his mouth. The end is chewed, who shot you? Dissolved to distant door. Cry of newborn baby. The door opens. Albert Stern, thin, tubercular, Jewish, stands in the doorway. Dr. Stern, you can come in now, Mr. Flegenheimer. A fine boy, where can I wash my hands? Mr. Flegenheimer, he is a heavy man with mustache and watch chain, first door on the left. Doctor. Cut to washroom. Flowered porcelain bathtub on claw legs. Blood on the doctor's hands in color. His face in the washroom mirror turns into the face of Dutch Shultz washing his hands in the washroom of the Palace Chop House. The door opens behind Shultz. Dissolve back to the hospital room. Voice of Dutch Shultz, was in the toilet and when I reached the boy came at me. The stenographer writes this down. First detective, taking cigar out of his mouth, who shot you? Dissolve to toilet of the Palace Chop House. Two-frame flash of Albert Stern standing in the door with a gun in his hand. He fires. A splash of red on Dutch's back. He grabs his back and twists around looking at the blood on his hands. Fusillade of shots. Cut to back room of the Palace Chop House. Broken beer glasses, bloody account sheets, an adding machine, a smoking CIAR sound goff with chewed end, three men sprawled on the floor, unhurried footsteps going away. Abe Landau heaves himself up off the floor and staggers out the door. He pulls himself along the bar rail. He makes the door just as a black car pulls away. He fires one shot and collapses in the gutter, dripping color. Dissolved to Flegenheimer's saloon and livery stable. The doctor shakes hands with Mr. Flegenheimer. He gets in his horse-drawn buggy and drives away. Long shot. The doctor's buggy fades into silver lead across the dawn sky. August 6th, cut to room with rose wallpaper in color. Rising sun lights red-haired boy naked on bed. Mrs. Murphy's rooming house, remember? I was new in the game and like all young thieves thought I had a license to steal. It didn't last. Lying there naked waiting on the Japanese girl works in the all-night chop suey. There is a knock at the door. Boy gets up and opens the door. Japanese girl in pink dress stands there smiling. She steps in. Boy closes door. They embrace. Boy's naked back to the camera. Girl undressing, pink dress thrown over a chair. This sex scene in various stages is projected onto other scenes in the sequence. However, scene does not follow through from beginning to end. That is, the first embrace may be repeated. The city is waking up. Horse-drawn beer trucks unloading. Heavy calm bartender in striped shirt and sleeve garters hums Sweet 16 as he sets out free lunch on the bar: hams, corned beef, cheese, bread, pig's feet. Cut to shabby room with curtains drawn. Young man on bed in dirty underpants. He sits up. He is an addict, we will see later in the prison scene. There is a syringe and a bottle on the night table. He shakes the bottle. It is empty. Shivering, he dresses hastily. Cut to other rooms where other addicts wake up, dress hastily, and go down shabby rooming house stairs into the summer dawn. The attic scenes are in black and white. They are flickering silver shadows. Cut to addicts in the street. The light hurts their eyes. Everything is sharp and clear to their peeled junk six senses. Sunlight on red bricks houses. Flash of the boy's red back and buttocks. Red jars in drugstore windows. Flash of couple in rocking chair. Red thighs, nipples, rose wallpaper. The addicts flinch from these flashes of color. Addicts arrive at early drugstore. Morphine 20 grains unhurried and old. The druggist fills their heroin 6 grains, orders. An old Irish biddy come in. Druggist: good morning Mrs. Murphy, and what can I do for you Mrs. Murphy? Tincture of opium Mr. Syringe. Druggist: certainly Mrs. Murphy, the large family size. Mrs. Murphy: the large family size. The addicts are hurrying back to fix through a neighborhood of chilly parlors, cheap rooming houses, brothels, pawn shops with brass knucks and pistols in the window, wooden Indians in front of cigar stores, flash of Joe Weinberg in barber shop with a leech on his black eye. As they walk faster and faster, scenes from the furtive seedy small time undenfurled are intercut to the tune of Ace in the Hole. Pimp slapping his whore around, card sharps and 3-card Monte men, opium dens, whore houses, pool halls, an old yegg with careful craftsman's fingers drills hole in safe door and pours in nitroglycerin. These are stylized song and dance numbers, all in black and white like shadows in the sunlight. During this sequence the sex scene is intercur at shorter and shorter intervals until color and black and white flicker at 2-frame intervals. As sex scene reaches crescendo, junkies are peeling off their coats, rolling up sleeves. Mrs. Murphy, surrounded by family portraits, measures out a generous slug of laudanum. The safe door blows. Cut to family photos of the Flegenheimers. A series of stills. Dutch as baby with mother and father. Dutch as 2-year-old, mother and father. Dutch as 6-year-old, mother and father. Dutch and mother. Dutch and mother. Young Dutch alone. Audible clicks like old. Cut to doorway of public school. Cut to classroom where the teacher, who is Albert Stern, is calling the roll. Teacher: Arthur Flegenheimer, Arthur Flegenheimer, Arthur Flegenheimer. His voice echoes through the bleak corridors, washrooms, and toilet with dirty pictures on the wall out into Grand Central Station. Here his voice fades into train calls. Dutch is standing by a ticket counter pretending to study a timetable. Man sets down suitcase and asks about train times. He buys ticket. Cut back to classroom. Teacher writes absent by Arthur Flegenheimer's name. Cut back to Grand Central. Man, turning from ticket window: my case is gone. Cut to pool hall where Dutch is buying beers for the Bergen Street. Cut to gang stealing packages from delivery wagons. Cut to Dutch opening the window of an apartment with Jeremy and stepping in from fire escape. Cut to cop looking up at the window. Cut to courtroom. Dutch stands in a ray of sunlight through dusty window. The judge's face is in shadow. The judge will later play Lepke Buchalter. Judge: I'll sentence you to serve a year in the workhouse at Blackwell Island. Cut to Dutch entering cell. An old junkie lies on the other bunk. Addicts in this sequence have already appeared in 1902 background shots. Junkie: hi kid, how much time you bringing with you? Dutch: a year. Junkie: you can do that standing on your head. He gets up and steps to the cell door. Here comes the man now. Cut to guard walking down the corridor with a shoebox full of heroin decks. Line of gray junkie faces. One addict is a boy of 20 who was obviously handsome before he got on the junk. Now his face is withered and sallow, teeth bad, eyes dead. The prisoners pass money through the bars. The old junkie in Dutch's cell buys a junk kit, cooking up in a spoon-holding match under it. You know what this stuff is? It's time, 300 more shots and I walk out of here. Shoot your way to freedom, kid. Dutch, he has stepped to the cell door and speaks over his shoulder. Nix, he jerks his head indicating the guard. There goes the smart guy. You're the suckers. Cut to warden's office. The guard dumps a shoebox full of money on the desk. Cut to scene showing homosexual prisoners parading up and down the corridors dressed as famous actresses of the period. The guard walks with them. There is a suggestion of ballet in the stylized poses. Among the drag queens is Vincent Cahl. Kiki Roberts and Frances Shultz are also present. Albert Stern is dressed as Sarah Bernhardt. Cut to line of faces at cell doors, teeth barred, eyes narrow. Some of the prisoners rub their crotch. Downey Madden eyes Vincent Cahl. The red-haired youth, who appears in 1902 sex sequence, is looking at a Filipino boy with long straight black hair carrying red handbag. Whistles, cat calls, I want Gertrude Lawrence, I want Lillian Gish. Dutch, what kinda creep joint is this? All fags and smeckers. He catches sight of Frances Shultz and his eyes narrow. The guard opens cell doors to let the drag queen in and collects Albert Stern, walking sadly away after the guard. Guess I'll always be a wallflower. Medley of After the Ball is over and Just a Girl That Men Forget. Cut to cells, dresses, pants, shirts, handbags tossed on bunks, legs, buttocks, torsos. These scenes are in color. Sound effects of animal noises. Passage of time is indicated by a loop repeating daily sale of junk and sex. Money poured again and again onto the warden's desk. Sex scenes in color, junk scenes in black and white. Released prisoners on ferry boat, head for Manhattan. Bright clear day, late afternoon, postcard shot of New York skyline. Among released prisoners, Dutch, Legs Diamond, Vincent Cahl, drag queens, the red-haired boy, the young junkie nodding out on a bench. Ferry boat wafts the young junkie into the Green Inn. Bluff over a river. He is healthy, happy, good looking there with his rich family, mother, father, younger brother. Iced tea and fried chicken. Same boy by a stream kissing yellow-haired girl. Music from the Flying Dutchman. Ferry boat turns into a rum runner with Dutch at the wheel, cases unloaded, beer trucks, speakeasies, black Cadillacs. Machine gun fire, gangster funerals. Shots are intercut at very short intervals. We glimpse all the main characters in these shots. Wild music is sometimes very loud, at others barely audible. Parties, cocktail shakers. Vincent Cahl appears as rowdy college boy in raccoon coat. Jack Diamond is a smooth 1920 playboy at the will of his Dussenberg. Dutch is playing golf at country club. In the quiet intervals of the Flying Dutchman there are calm music across the golf course, firefly evenings, nostalgic 1920 shots. Suburban gardens, frogs croaking, train whistles. Drag queens and red-haired boy come in from football game. The boys are undressing in locker room. Boy and girl undressing by the stream. These scenes are superimposed and intercut back and forth, boys in locker room superimposed on nude couple by the stream, couple superimposed on boys. Sex scene also superimposed back and forth on lawn, sprinklers, golf courses, trees and flowers, 1920 roads and houses, penny arcades. More and more color is drawn in red steaming flesh of boys in locker room, roses, sunsets, the Grand Canyon. Cut back to ferry boat, sea, blue sky, blue evening shadows across backyards and ash pits, slate roofs, attic room with blue wallpaper, model boat, collection of seashells. Colors flicker into rainbow over a stream, Niagara Falls, Yellowstone Park, Pikes Peak, an orgasm of postcard colors. Film cuts briefly back to gangster sequence as the Flying Dutchman ends. This sequence will require experimentation and cannot be indicated in full detail here. Some of the intercuts and superimpositions will work better than others. Sequence should show Dutch drawn inexorably into the 1920 gangster film and at the same time indicate where he and other passengers on the boat might be under different circumstances of birth. It is in a sense a book of the dead, a suspended interval between prisons. Cut to Dutch drinking a beer with the Bergen Street Boys. Scene is slow-paced and prosaic after film sequence. The actors are bored. They yawn and fidget. There is no point in this gathering. The actors are not on set. Dutch, what happened to Mary? Used to work in a candy store? What was her name? Joe, Mary Evans. Dutch, yeah, that's right, Mary Evans. Marvin, she married Johnny Broderick. You remember him? Dutch, yeah. And what's he doing? Abe, selling insurance. Marvin, what you figuring to do? Dutch? Dutch, get a job, I guess. Cut to sign Oro gas removals and storage. Movers wanted. Dutch and Joe no stop in front of the sign. It is a warm day and they have their coats slung over shoulders, one finger through hanger. They look at each other. They go in. Cut to auto gas behind battered desk. Fat man, hard gray eyes, smoking cigar. Gas, any previous experience as movers? Dutch and no. Gas, what kinda work you done? Dutch, roofer. No, delivery wagon. Gas, how long since you worked as a roofer? Dutch, about a year. Gas, how long since you worked on a delivery wagon? No, about a year. Gas, well, you're hired. Cut to Dutch and Joe knocking on a door. Woman's voice, come in. The woman is dressed in a greasy kimono with her hair in curlers, eating sardines out of a can with a shoehorn. Her husband is in ants and dirty underwear top, drinking beer and studying a racing form. He does not look up. Woman, you the movers? Why? Dutch and no, that's right. Woman, well, you can start in the bedroom. Cut to crumpled bed bugs squashed with thumbnail on greasy rose wallpaper, 2-frame color shot, a cigarette butt ground out in a half-eaten eclair. Dutch, stepping to door of bedroom, what you want us to do with the sheets? Woman's voice, throw 'em on a floor. Cut to Dutch and Joe standing in front of Auto Gas's desk. Gas, well, we aren't moving furniture anymore. We're moving something else. Dutch, like what? Gas, like beer. The pay is 50 clams a month plus bonus. You boys want the job? Dutch and no, sure. Gas, he opens a drawer and slides 238s across the desk, you'll be needing these. Auto Gas sliding guns across the desk. Dutch and Joe no driving a beer truck for Auto Gas. Dutch's decision that it is more profitable to give wages than to receive them. His first speakeasy at 543 Brook Avenue. His rapid rise from one speakeasy and 3 rickety beer trucks to a string of speakeasies and a fleet of trucks. His clash with the Midtown mob of Legs Diamond. Joe no shot down by the Diamond mob on 54th Street. Dutch picking off one of the guns from a hotel window has already been shown in 1920 background shots. These shots are now run on a speed-up loop. Sequence takes 1 or 2 minutes. Cut to 1929 stock market crash. A white Rolls-Royce drives up in front of the stock exchange and Abba Dabba gets out. He is dressed in a polar bear skin. The chauffeur hands him a bear mask. He puts the mask on and enters the stock exchange. Brokers, shrinking back, it's the white bear. Old runner, I haven't seen him since Black Friday. They say he hibernates between crashes. Cut to spectral black figure of Hetty Green, the Witch of Wall Street, hovering over the boards and the brokers. She intones her stock market spell. Hetty Green's ghost, ding dong bell, sell sell sell, knee wall fell, sell sell sell. Pel tex mel fell fell fell. Paris Geneva Amsterdam sell. Dow Jones Sun gas fell fell fell. Sell sell sell. Telecon Polaroid muted spell fell. Sib boom fell, old Syntex Halibut sub swan fell. Vornado Pell Tower fell. Written across a dark sky in silver, the 1930s. Cut to end of excavated passage. Archaeologists, Egyptian workers. Archaeologist, this is it, gentlemen, the tomb of Tutankhamun. He translates inscription over the door. Death shall come on swift wings to who touch at the tomb of the pharaohs. The workers flee. Archaeologist, superstitious blighters, he picks up a pickaxe. Well, let's get on with it. He swings the pick, the hieroglyphs blow out over the dust bowl. Under a darkened sky, FBI men shoot down bank robbers. Cut to strikes, bread lines, apple peddlers. Cut to village apartment. Communist literature. The red-haired boy and Bennington girl. They embrace. Girl, you and I are going to have a talk about our relationship. Cut to the luxurious London apartment of Lord Westbury. A plaque with the inscription is on the wall. Lord Westbury is reading a newspaper article entitled The Curse of the Pharaohs. He is somewhat the worse for drink. Lord Westbury, bloody nonsense. The lights go out. Grimsy, bring candles. Open the curtains. Grimsy. 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 Nipped off to the pub most likely. He gets up to open the curtains, stumbles over a chair, crash of glass, his body draped in a red curtain plummets to the sidewalk, shocked faces turn. Sex scene between the boy and girl superimposed on the body. Cut to Lord Westbury's casket covered with flowers. Sex scene superimposed. Pallbearers put casket in hearse. Gangster funerals from 1920 sequence intercut at short intervals. 1930 sex scene and hieroglyph superimposed. Cut to hearse on way to cemetery. Driver is smoking cigarette. He puts 2 fingers on cigarette to remove after inhale. Cigarette sticks to his lip. Fingers slide up cigarette burning fingers and showering his pants with sparks. Color. Driver swears brushing sparks off pants. He looks up and slams on the brakes. Cut to casket jolted violently forward, red flowers in color. Cut to body of 8-year-old boy dead on street, red sweater, red school books, blood in color. Cut to reporter with notebook, legs crossed. Reporter, leaning slightly forward, what about the curse of the pharaohs, Lady Westbury? Cut to Lady Westbury, who is seen to be Hetty Green. Lady Westbury, no one in our family has ever believed such nonsense. Cut to 1930 sex scene superimposed on apples, the red flag, cosmetic display in store window. Model in display with passion red lipstick resembles Kiki Roberts. Cut to courtroom, Syracuse, New York. Jury files in. Judge, he is Lepka bookholder, gentleman of the jury / cut foreman of the jury, we / cut to newspaper headline, Legs Diamond acquitted. Cut to Dutch who puts paper down and rests his hand on it. Cut to Legs Diamond drunk in phone booth. Sounds of loud party. Diamond, urgently, hello Kiki. This is Legs. I want to see you, Kiki's voice, okay. Be there in 20 minutes. Cut to Kiki Roberts. She puts down phone and dials another number. Cut to red-haired boy from sex scene. Faces older, eyes cool, alert, unreadable. He picks up phone. Long distance boy, yeah. Kiki's voice, got it? Kiki's voice. Boy looks at wristwatch, an hour be time enough? Kiki's voice, keys. No, that won't be necessary. Kiki's voice, okay. He puts down phone and turns around. 2 other guns are seen in the act of getting up from chairs. They have not moved yet but will move in another split second. One is gray, anonymous FBI type. The other heavy-set Jewish or Latin. Cut to street sign, Dove Street. Cab stops. Legs Diamond gets out. He stumbles up rooming house stairs, pulling himself along the banister. His overcoat is open and his face wears an expression of bestial urgency. He knocks on door. Kiki opens door. Cut to cheap rooming house backdrop, Gibson girl pictures on wall. Legs throws his overcoat on chair. Passionate embrace. Kiki's face turns aside for a second to reveal a mask of evil ecstasy. Cut to bedroom. They roll around on the bed. Clothes hit the floor. Animal noises from prison scene. Cut to Diamond asleep on the crumpled bed, his face smeared with lipstick. Cut to hand trying skeleton keys in door. A key turns in the lock. Diamond, sitting up groggily, Kiki. Huh? What is it? Bullets hit his chest, head and face. Blood and lipstick in color. Cut to still photograph on back platform of the Royal Palm Special. Left to right. Arthur Palumbo, Peter Call, Fats McCarthy. Vincent Call. Cut to drawing room. The train wheels, click eddy clack, and the train whistle, hoo hoo, cuts their voices. Vincent Call, mean how did the Dutchman, hoo hoo, where his is? By carrying, click eddy clack, for someone else? Hoo hoo, Fats McCarthy, that's right. We take the risks, click eddy clack, the train sways and Fats grabs for his whiskey glass, the Dutchman grabs the, hoo hoo, Arthur Palumbo, if we start, click eddy clack, on our own we'll have the Dutchman's, click eddy clack, all over us. Vincent Kahn, why wait for, click eddy clack. Why not, click eddy clack, first. Peter Call, the Dutchman underpays his, click eddy clack, and chisels his, whoosh sound of train entering tunnel, if we could offer a better, click eddy clack. Vincent Call, we gotta hit his key, hoo hoo, show what we can do, and his, click eddy clack whoosh train in opposite direction, will come over. Call makes a clutching gesture towards his chest. A sudden lurch of the train nearly throws him out of his seat. A glass crashes to the floor, hoo hoo hoo, cut to train scene from outside, train whistles, summer twilight, boy waving from hillside suggest a Saturday Evening Post cover. In this scene the actors speak the lines that are drowned out by train noises. These lines are as follows. Vincent Call, I mean how did the Dutchman get where he is? By carrying a gun for somebody else. Fats McCarthy, that's right. We take his risks in the street. The Dutchman grabs the lard. Arthur Palumbo, if we start business on our own we'll have the Dutchman's guns all over us. Vincent Coley, why wait for his play? Why not hit him first? Peter Call, the Dutchman underpays his guns and chisels his runners. If we could offer a better deal. Vincent Call, we gotta hit his key men. Show what we can do and his guns will come over. Since the scene ends after following sound effects, Call does not finish sentence. Cut to July evening, 107th Street, sun on the windows of apartment building, doorman at the door. Doorman is one of the guards from prison scene. Rao emerges with 2 bodyguards. He nods to the doorman who touches his cap. Rao is a smooth plump Latin dressed in conservative black suit who walks with a slow and stately gait, threading his way through children and baby carriages. The 2 bodyguards fall several paces behind. Children shout and hoop and tussle. Boy who waved to train releases a toy balloon. Shading his eyes from the sun he watches as the balloon sails up past apartment house windows. Cut to battered black Packard halfway down the block. The car is overheated and the hubcap steams. Arthur Palumbo is at the wheel, Vincent Call and Fats McCarthy in the back seat. Vincent Call, that's Rao. Let's go. The car accelerates. Steam from the overheated radiator blows back across the windshield, cutting Palumbo's view. The car swerves wildly. Cut to boy watching as balloon clears the rooftops. Cut to speeding swerving car. Call leans out the back window and sprays the block with machine gun bullets. Fats leans over beside him and empties a revolver. Cut to boy white shirt splashed with red. He brings hand that shaded his eyes down and clutches stomach. 4 other children falling, blood, pink dresses, screams. Cut to Rao in black and white who turns around with an expression of shocked disapproval as if somebody had exposed himself in public. Cut to red balloon, blue sky, streamers of pink cloud. Cut to room where 5 Shultz mobsters are playing Monopoly on a specially constructed enlarged board with model hotels, garages, jails, banks. Suddenly the door buckles, splinters, and flies open. Film shifts to color, a sledgehammer sails into the room. Standing in the space vacated by THGE broken door, Vincent Call and Fats McCarthy appear in fireman uniforms. The sledgehammer crashes into a table lamp. An axe still quivers in the door. Call and Fats open up with machine guns. The mobsters fall across the Monopoly board clutching their model properties in dying fingers. In this scene the actors are instructed to actually play Monopoly for about 20 seconds until Call and Fats make their Vandalouse entrance. There is no pre-arranged point the game will have reached. Cut to Dutch's headquarters desk phone filing cabinets. Room looks like the office of a moderately successful businessman. Dutch, Bo Weinberg, Lulu Rosenkrantz, Abe Landau. A seedy underworld messenger stands with his hat in his hands. Bo Weinberg, to messenger, tell him what you told me. Messenger, now look Mr. Flegenheimer, this is just what I hear, I mean what Vincent Call is saying all over town. Dutch, all right, what's he saying? Messenger, he's calling you a yellow rat Mr. Flegenheimer, and he's saying if you aren't yellow why don't you come out in the open and fight. Dutch, smiling, now who does he think he is? Wyatt Earp or somebody? Messenger, it's just what I hear Mr. Flegenheimer. Dutch, genially, that's all right. He walks over and puts a hand on the messenger's shoulder. Now listen. I want you to put it out on the grapevine that I'm willing to sit down with Call and his boys and talk things over and see if we can't come to a fair agreement. You understand? Messenger, yes Mr. Flegenheimer, I got it. I'll put the word out. You can depend on me. Dutch, not so genial, removes his hand from shoulder. Good. Show him out the back way. Lulu. Exits Lulu with messenger. Bo Weinberg, he's not that dumb. Dutch. Dutch, of course not. But it puts me in the right. I offered to sit down with him like a gentleman and talk things over and he didn't want to listen. Meanwhile we'll stay undercover until the situation is handled. Cut to beer drop on College Avenue. Vincent and Peter Coley, Fats, and Arthur Palumbo are wrecking the premises in a frenzy of vandalism. With sledgehammer axes and iron bars they smash slot machines and beer trucks. They slosh gasoline on the floor and leave in a whoosh of flame. Fire engines on the way. Cut to Dutch's hideout apartment. This is the same hideout he will later use when dodging arrest on income tax charges. Dutch, standing with phone in his hand, cuts connection. They just wrecked the drop College Avenue. Without putting the phone down he dials another number. Cut to typical nightclub office, Midtown mobster on phone. Cut back to Dutch, I was wondering if you could lend me some talent. I'm a bit short-handed on this show. Mobster, sorry Dutch. He's your boy. Dutch, he puts down phone and turns to his loyal guns, get Call off my back. Get the mick off my back, he yells. Gun, he keeps moving. Dutch. He's hard to find. Dutch, pouring drink, he's hard to find but he finds other people, his face lights up. Auntie Madden is a queer, used to be sweet on Call. 2-frame flash of Call and Auntie in prison scene. Dutch takes a long swallow and continues philosophically. When a queer gets the hots he don't think about what he's getting into. Call will bleed Auntie for the last nickel. He puts down the empty glass. You follow Auntie. Don't let him out of your sight. Stick with Auntie till you find that creep. You find his potato-eating brother. Cut to red brick apartment building 1914. Over the doorway. Peter Call stands in the doorway looking up and down the quiet tree-lined street. Halfway down the block 2 old ladies with veils sit in an electric. Otherwise the street is empty. Peter Call starts walking. Cut to electric. First old lady, why there's our young man now. The electric glides forward and stops by Peter Call. Second old lady, young man, could you direct me to College Avenue? Peter, 5 blocks up and turn to your right. Second old lady, oh thank you. Peter, keep the change. Machine gun bullets hit him like a fire hose. The 2 old ladies drive serenely away. First old lady, my what a rude young man. Cut to garage by Auntie Madden's club where the guns delegated to take care of Vincent Call have set up field headquarters. Camera picks out a thin Mexican face, prominent cheekbones, burning eyes. The Mexican gun is dressed in a tight-fitting black suit and wearing black Stetson. It is the face of a Mexican pistolero. 2-frame flash of Mexican cafe. Immobile as wood, he is doing absolutely nothing. Besides him, tilted back in a chair, a gun with Germanic features chews gum and stares at the ceiling. A technician wearing steel rim glasses and headphones is making adjustments at a switchboard. This is the same actor who plays the police stenographer. Technician, removing headphones, I'm getting the whole block. He removes plugs, filing the insulation off wires with a knife. Bo Weinberg reads a tabloid. The red-haired gun is reading Weird Tales. On the cover of Weird Tales stands a priest with elaborate Mayan headdress wearing a loincloth, his hands raised in prayer or invocation. A tentacled monster is pushing its way out of his entrails. The priest's face wears an ambiguous expression of dedication, horror, and pain mixed with the ecstasy of childbirth. Flickering silver words hang in the air. Abhuth the dark, Abhuth the unclean, I conjure you by the great black rock of Kasim, by the emerald crown of Luxor, by the luminous sword of Ibli, by Ormuzd, and by Shina, come forth. Killed when 2 cars crashed head-on, newspaper picture of car wreck, screech of brakes, crash of metal, breaking glass, blood, shoes, oil on the street, police sirens. Critically injured, grunting groans of pain pushed out through broken ribs. Now this infinitely vile thing was coming out of its lair. Phone rings, red-haired gun, magazine folded over, finger picks up phone, yeah, he called twice but he rings off before we can trace it. Dutch's voice, okay. Dutch will do. Red-haired gun opens magazine. And its lair was the innermost recesses of my own body. Faces projected onto octopus and entrails, faces of fear, pain, hate and death. 5 children died in a fire of unknown origin. Newspaper picture of fire. A grief-crazed woman struggles with firemen. And I could feel the fetid breath of its hatred. Dead on arrival at Bellevue Hospital, broken beer glass twisted in face, knee to the groin. A hatred so intense and maniacal that awarded $25,000 for damages to his son's genitals occasioned by rat bites. Screams fill the room. The technician mixes a bicarbonate of soda and belches into his hand. It almost needs a new word. A light flashes on the switchboard. In this scene, words and pictures from newspaper, moving pictures that grow out of the stills, words and pictures from Weird Tales remain on screen and accumulate. The car crash is still on screen at end of take, together with woman struggling to enter burning building, the brawl, the picture of Abhuth the unclean. Faces projected onto Abhuth are from the newspaper stories, faces of accident victims twisted with pain, the woman's face, dead face of the man, knee in groin, carried into accident ward by gum-chewing ambulance attendants. Sound effects also continue in echo chamber. Sound effects and pictures contrast with deadpan faces of the guns. It should be brought home to audience that these scenes are repeated all over America every day. Baby dies from rat bites. Jan Abhuth the unclean is the newspaper turned to sport page, owner who sends his reporters out to get all the pictures of death but does not like to hear the words spoken in his presence. Cut to Auni Madden's office. Auni, picking up phone, oh hello Vincent. He speaks without enthusiasm. Cut back to garage. Technician puts on headphones. He raises a finger. Red-haired gun drops magazine and stands up in one lithe movement. Bo Weinberg puts down paper. Germanic gun brings his chair to the floor. The Mexican does not move but shifts his eyes to submachine gun standing in corner. Cut to door of Auni Madden's office. Red-haired gun opens door with skeleton key. He stands behind Auni, gun drawn. Gun, keep talking, Auni. Stall him. Auni glances up without surprise and nods. Perhaps he has known about the wiretap. He wants the mic off his back too. Auni, be reasonable, Vincent, call talking, I'll tell you I just don't have it. Cut to garage. The technician is busy at the switchboard. Bo Weinberg sits at wheel of car motor running. The two guns in the back seat. Cut to telephone exchange. Kiki Roberts in front of switchboard chewing gum. She gets the technician's call. She is plugging in switches. Cut to Auni Madden's office. Auni, business is falling off and I took a beating on my income tax. Call talking. The camera speeds through a tunnel of telephone wires, sound effects of phone calls. I'm trying to get your call through, sir. Broken pieces of inexplicable conversations, clicks, hums, buzzes. These are of course actual recordings. At the end of the tunnel we see Call's face. Cut back to garage. The technician takes off his headphones. Bo Weinberg leans out car window, a hand to his ear. Technician, drugstore phone booth. Corner 23rd Street and 10th Avenue. Cut to Auni Madden's office. Auni, well, I might be able to raise 10,000, Vincent. It would mean selling shares at a loss. Call talking. Cut to car weaving through traffic. Cut to Auni Madden's office. Auni, well, if you could meet me tomorrow afternoon. Call talking, no, not here. Call talking, no, that's no good. Call talking, look, suppose I come along to your either place. Call talking. Car stops in front of the drugstore. Bo Weinberg stays at the wheel. Germanic gun goes in first, the Mexican right behind him. Germanic gun stays at door, submachine gun held 6 inches below level position. He raises gun an inch towards druggist. Germanic gun, on the floor, pops. The Mexican stops 10 feet from the phone booth. He does not need to get closer. He opens up. Cut to cops and police photographer in the drugstore. One cop is going through COL's pockets. He passes up a driver's license. A cop reads out. Cop, name, Vincent Call, age, 23, address 86 College Avenue. Cut to Harlem. The heavy palpable darkness of underexposed film in the streets. On a corner, Negro reads about Call's death. Vincent Call, 23. Negro, boy, that's my number. He hurries away down the dark street. Long take. On the spot, documentaries of Harlem in the 30s are essential for this take, which will be intercut and superimposed on the documentary shots. As Negro hurries away, the number 23 hangs in the air. Cut to Spectral Railway Station. Skull-faced porter turns around. His badge number is 23. Blind lottery ticket seller waves tickets. Parahoy. Parahoy. The dark street. Flash of porter putting 23 into adding machine where George Weinberg is figuring the Dutchman's daily take. Treasury Department reports for that day are on the table to show him what has to be paid out. People write down license numbers of passing cars, street addresses, telephone numbers, dates. They count geese in the sky. A voodoo priest invokes the god of chance, cuts a chicken's throat and throws it on the floor. Chicken flops around while man holds stopwatch. People writing down numbers. Count parahoy. Parahoy. Ting geese flopping chicken, adding machine. Treasury reports. Dutch's army of guns is moving in on Harlem. Up and down subway stairs, pool halls, and backroom bookie joints come in with the Dutchman. It is a phantom army moving in darkness. It is an international army. There are white, Negro, Puerto Rican and Chinese gunmen on tenement stairs. Flat 18, opened with skeleton keys. The red-haired gun draws automatic with silencer and slips through the door. Pop pop. Parahoy. Parahoy. Dutch's guns. Flat 18. Flopping chicken, adding machine. Treasury reports. Dark room, creaking mattress. 49, 50, 51, 52. 52 lights up. Incandescent silver man in hall paces up and down outside door, a watch in his hand. Cry of newborn baby through door. Man looks at watch, 3 to 33. Parahoy. Paraboy. Gasp creak 52. Babies cry 3 to 33. Chicken flops feebly, adding machine. Treasury reports. Cut to desk where Negro is phoning in numbers from policy slips. Technician tapping phone and tracing call. Car stops. Guns get out. Negro whirls and jerks open drawer reaching for revolver. He falls across desk littered with policy slips. Blood-stained policy slips. Chicken parahoy. Parahoy. Barely moving. Man leans forward intently with stopwatch. Adding machine treasury reports. People reading newspapers in tenement rooms, barber shop on. Policy boss street corners, subway, tenement steps. Martin Jones, 48, 76 West 134th Street. Pronounced dead at doctor applies. Man slumped in electric chair 12:08 a.m. People circle address, date, age, time. Stethoscope. Chicken's legs stiffen and stop moving. Man checks stopwatch 1 minute 28 seconds. 1.28 dead chicken. 12.02, dead parahoy. Parahoy. Man in electric chair. 876 circled in newspaper. Jones falling across policy slips. Babies cry 3 to 33. Gasp Creek 52. Cullen ES 18 geese in sky. People writing down numbers, flopping chicken spurting blood skull-faced porter 23 one frame hashes click into adding machine treasury reports. Notes on this take. Take is underexposed. The only spoken words are parahoy. Come in with the Dutchman. Queen ES. 49, so, 52 are silver leads. Sound effects are a musical score, spoot of silencered automatics, creaking mattress, babies cry. Cut to Washington, D.C. Treasury Department. A number of agents are sitting in straight back chairs. They are accountant cops similar to the police stenographer. There are maps on the wall. The chief paces up and down leaving words in the air behind him. The effect is curiously oblique and threatening. He never looks directly at his audience. The chief, there seems to be a general widespread impression in this country that income tax laws are not on the statute books to be enforced. It is our job to correct that impression. Cut to boardroom where the syndicate has assembled to discuss policy and distribution of territories. Pitchers of ice water, glasses, discreetly luxurious furnishings. Board members are dressed in conservative business suits. Chairman, gentlemen, there is no need for us to engage in unseemly disputes regarding the assignment of territorial interests. It's bad press, it's bad policy and it costs money. Long pause. The chairman places both hands flat on the table and looks at each board member in turn. One after the other they nod assent. Cut back to Treasury Department. The chief, entirely too many American citizens seem to think it's smart to cheat Uncle Sam. We intend to show these folks that it isn't smart. Not smart at all. Cut to board meeting. Chairman, we are forming a corporation to meet certain joint expenditures. Mr. Monroe here. Mr. Monroe nods and smiles, represents one of the top firms in this field. Mr. Finch nods and does not smile. Represents a firm of public accountants specializing in tax problems. These services are available to participant members. Cut to ranch house. Rancher with his hat on sits at roller top desk. Steers are bellowing outside. Rancher, you want to count my cows, Mr. 7. Cut to board meeting. Chairman, all disputes will be brought before the board for arbitration. Long pause. The board members nod assent. Cut to ranch house. T-man, pacing up and down leaving words in the air behind him. No, Mr. Peterson, I don't want to count your cows. I want to see your books. Cut to board meeting. Chairman, there remains the question of unauthorized personnel. Cut to ranch house. Rancher, I don't keep books, Mr. Cut to board meeting. Chairman, to save time these questions can be brought before a local board of evidence. However, an offended party has the option. Cut to ranch house. T-man, Still pacing up and down, I'm not here to argue with you, Mr. Peterson. He whips out a notebook. I'm here to tell you you owe the United States government cut to board meeting. Chairman, of asking for a national board meeting if he feels that the gravity of the situation warrants concerted action cut to ranch house. T-Man, slapping the notebook shut, $30,000 in back taxes, bellowing of steers rises to a crescendo, cut to local board meeting. Chairman, in view of the fact that Cherry knows Joe. He holds up a tinted photo of a thin hunchbacked Italian with a huge bright red nose. Cut to luxurious study. Well-dressed distinguished-looking man is smoking a Havana, the ash held in a delicate gray cone the way it holds on a really expensive cigar. T-Man, he is sitting down, his eyes on a far corner of the room. Mr. Bradshinkle, your cost accounting department shows a loss for the current year. Cut to board Mary G. Chairman, a clear case of unauthorized personnel. Cut to study. T-Man, is this in point of fact a correct and complete record? Cut to board meeting. Chairman, accordingly the usual procedure as outlined in the April meeting of the National Board is applicable. Cut to study. Mr. Bradshinkle, that's right. It's been a tough year for Eastern Rubber. Cut to Turkish bath. Cherry knows Joe in color buys ticket. Two mobsters follow. Cut to steam room. Mobster takes an automatic fitted with silencer from a rubber bag. Cut to study. T-Man, would you describe Northwestern Rubber as a subsidiary of your company? The ash falls from Mr. Bradshinkle's cigar. Cut to Turkish bath steam room. Gun squints through the steam, waving a hand in front of his face. He catches a gleam of red and fires. There is a falsetto scream. Cut to study. Mr. Bradshinkle, well, not exactly a subsidiary, let us say He clears his throat and coughs. Business associate. Cut to Turkish bath. Door of the steam room is flung open and steam billows out. A fat old queen stands in the open door, his face heavily made up, lips and cheeks bright red, chest splashed with blood. A muscular young man with an anchor tattooed on his arm watches open-mouthed as the queen sinks to his knees. Histrionically the queen stretches out his fat arms. Queen, young man, young man. The youth shrinks back. Queen hiccups a rope of blood and topples forward. Cut to study. T-Man, would you say that the association is sufficiently close to involve a transfer of funds? Cut to newspaper story. Homosexual slain in Turkish bath. A homosexual deviant known as Mother Gillig was shot to death last night in the ever-hard Turkish baths, 418 East 6th Police Chief A.J. McIntosh told reporters, "We are street treating this as a crime of passion," flushed and nodded curtly. Cut to study. Mr. Bradshinkle, well, that is, I believe there was a loan. Cut to board meeting. Chairman, gentlemen, owing to adverse weather conditions, what the pilots I believe refer to as ceiling zero, there has been a most unfortunate accident. Cut to study. T-Man, taking out the notebook, Mr. Bradshinkle, would you care to explain a deposit of $50,000 in the Trade Development Bank of Vancouver on October the 20th? Cut to newspaper headlines. Dutch Shultz indicted for tax evasion. Cut to Midtown traffic. Horns, shouts, curses, screech of brakes. Two drivers arguing side by side. Driver, sticking head out the window, go on, you're drunk already. Cut to Bo Weinberg at the wheel, Dixie Davis in front seat, Martin Krompier and Martin Jules in back seat. A car with 4 agents is tailing them. Bo Weinberg is a magical driver. Traffic opens for him like the Red Sea did for Moses and closes behind him. Out of the corner of his eye he sees a truck backing out into the middle of a side street, turns sharply and whips around the back of the truck. Truck blocks the street. Agent car frantically backs up, hits the bumper of car behind. Chorus of shouts, horns, curses. Bo runs a red light and turns wrong way down a one-way street. Bo, lost them. The sounds of Midtown traffic fade suddenly into remote distance. The car is driving through an area of deserted warehouses, vacant lots, and cobblestone streets. Weeds grow through cracked pavements. Bo stops the car and gets out to unlock a garage door. Sound of crickets and frogs from a vacant lot. He drives in and the party changes cars. They drive on through empty streets and turn into the driveway of an apartment building. Ornate lobby, marble stairs, no doorman, no reception desk. Lulu Rosenkrantz opens the door. The party walks into a living room like the show window of a furniture store. Glass-fronted bookcases, furniture upholstered in red and white satin with gilt threading, wallpaper to match, red and white stripes, gilt scrolling at floor and ceiling, a cut glass chandelier, shaded desk lamps, a fireplace with gas logs. On the marble mantelpiece a small bronze statue of the thinker. Above this a painting of Venice involving Nubian gondoliers, a red canopy, aristocrats trail languid hands in the water. There are pictures of classical subjects. Aurora ushers in the horses of Apollo, Eros shoots his darts, Diana leads a pack of greyhounds to the chase. At one end of the set on a marble column is the head and torso of a naked youth. Whole scene suggests the anteroom of an elegant ambiguous brothel in the international zone of Shanghai. Lulu Rosenkrantz and Abe Landau have been playing pinochle, board, cards, and beer glasses on the table. Dutch gets up from an armchair by the fireplace. The Life of Napoleon by Ludwig is a table by the chair together with a cut glass decanter, the label Scotch draped around its neck. Dutch is wearing an ornate embroidered dressing gown which gives him a curiously majestic and mysterious aura like the high priest of a devil-worshipping cult in some forgotten film. He shakes hands with Bo, Dixie, and Cromier. Waiting to be introduced, Jules Martin looks around overawed at the magnificence of the room. His eyes are drawn to the naked youth. His loose mouth drops and his eyes bug out. Martin Cromier, Arthur, this is Jules Martin. He handles dissemination and collections for the Union. Dutch, he glances sideways at the statue with no expression at all, as if he were looking at a blank wall. It is obvious that Jules Martin has made a terrible social blunder by seeing the statue. Glad to know you, Jules. Dutch's smile is brief and cold. Dixie Davis, I've been down to Washington again, Arthur, and it's still no deal. They say you have to surrender and stand trial. Dutch, these 4 walls, $250,000 isn't too much for the man who can deliver. Dixie Davis, federal case, Arthur. It's tough to fix. Those boys don't shake hands. Dutch, well, keep on it. And now, gentlemen, let us proceed to the operations room. Martin Cromier and Dixie Davis look at each other. Cut to small bare room, drawing boards and maps on the wall, a filing cabinet, a desk, a few chairs. One board is labeled Harlem. It is covered with circled numbers like the Kabbalistic signs used to invoke spirits. The other board is labeled Midtown. Beside the map, cards of restaurants and nightclubs are thumbtacked to the board. Each card has MIGS stamped on it. Cut to Busboys and Waiters Union Local 16. Mobsters lounge about in the office. Cut back to operations room. Dutch is standing in front of the Midtown board, hands in his dressing gown pockets. Dixie Davis, glancing uneasily at the filing cabinet, what's in there, Arthur? Dutch, nothing. It's just a prop. He continues to look at the cards on the board. All members in good standing. Martin Cromier, here are some standouts, Dutch. He hands Dutch 4 cards. Dutch, he sits down and looks at the 4 cards, Chez Robert, the silver cord, the 400, Chez Victor. He stacks the cards and rests his hand on them. He speaks in a dreamy voice like a trance medium. Acid in the cloakroom. Cut to woman covered with diamonds and sapphires being helped into her mink coat by hat check girl. The woman preens herself, then sniffs and stiffens and looks down. Holes and fissures, steaming red and orange fumes have eaten her coat to rags. A blob of smoking fur falls to the floor. She screams like a stricken baby. Dutch, fights in the bar. Cut to bar. Well-dressed patrons exude wealth and self-possession. A mellow comfortable millionaire smiles quietly here with our own kind. Two men stationed at the middle of the bar seem somewhat out of place. One has long powerful ape arms and prominent cheekbones. He looks like Mr. Hyde. The other wears a frozen blank expression. Patron, he is standing at the far end of the bar, turns to his wife. Embassy people, I think. Standing by this pair, a millionaire warmed by 3 martinis looks at them as if trying to focus to remember at what reception or house party Mr. Hyde, whirling around, what are you looking at? He knocks the millionaire sprawling and sweeps a line of glasses to the floor. Without changing his expression, the other hoodlum lifts an elegant young man off his bar stool by the coat lapels and shoves him across the room, where he overturns a table and lands in Mrs. Worldly's lap. Dutch, stink bombs in the dining room. Cut to dining room. Hum of conversation dies away to silence. A pink-faced man sitting with his wife and daughters gets to his feet. Man, mother, this place stinks. Cut back to Dutch, who is nodding and chuckling. Cut to Chez Robert. It is a.m. Robert, an immense glacial man, is having a scotch on the rocks at the bar. 2 men walk in. One is Jules Martin. Man 1, you Mr. Robert. Robert, L.M. Man 2, of course you are. These 2 actors cut in on each other, one saying one sentence, one the next. Robert, you wish? Man, nice place here, Mr. Robert. Man 2, want to keep it that way, don't you? Robert glares in silence. Man 1, you should unionize, Mr. Robert. Gives you a lot of protection. Man 2. Robert, protection against what? Man 1. Wrong kind of people walk in, maybe. Cockroaches in the soup. Man 2. Robert, cockroaches in the soup. Chez Robert, disgruntled employee. Man 1. Stink bombs in the John. Man 2. Man, acid in the cloakroom. Robert. Get out or I'll call the police. Man 2. Sure, Mr. Robert. It's your hash house. Man 1. Man 2. Au revoir, monsieur. Man 1, few more calls to make. Cut to dinner. Chez Robert. Very quiet, very expensive, very exclusive. The diners talk in low voices. Robert stalks about, nodding coolly to his guests. Few of them rate a smile. Dutch Shultz is there as a Midwest industrialist with his wife and daughter. He receives the briefest of nods. Legs Diamond is a smooth playboy millionaire beautifully dressed with Kiki Roberts as a famous movie star, this information conveyed by Dutch's daughter, recognizing the pair. Robert, good evening, Mr. Poindexter. He favors them with a 2-star smile. A frail old gentleman with a napkin tucked under his chin gets a warm smile and a handshake. He is a Michelin inspector. The guests look at him with awe. Robert continues his tour. The head waiter stands at his elbow. Head waiter, Mrs. Worldly on the phone, sir. Wants to reserve a table for next Tuesday. Robert, tell her there are no tables. She smoked between courses. Head waiter, very good, sir. There is a wrong note. A table of people who talk in loud voices and say things like, where is the salt? Robert, summoning the head waiter, who are these people? How did they get in? Head waiter, I don't know, sir. I looked around and there they were. Man at table, he looks up and catches Robert's glare. Hey boy, bring me some ketchup. A moment of stunned silence. The man leans back in his chair, puts both hands to his mouth and lets out a hog call. Grunting, squealing, a herd of famished hogs rushes into the dining room, overturning tables, slopping the haute cuisine from the floor. Cut to the silver cord. The proprietor is seen unhooking the famous silver rope to admit favored clients. Some clients he bows in, stepping back with the coiled cord cuddled lovingly in his arms. Others are barely given room to squeeze through. Still others are dismissed by a cold glance, stopping for a moment on the unsuitable face, then shifting significantly to the excluding cord. The proprietor is arguing with an insistent client. Client, but I have a reservation. Proprietor, scanning a list, sorry there doesn't seem to be any table reserved in your name. As the proprietor savors the man's discomfiture, the club is invaded by a horde of panhandlers ducking under the cord and stepping over it, seeping in from the kitchen, and he exits. The waiters try desperately to oust the invaders, but they are like sacks of mendicant cement, clutching at the guests with filthy fingers, snatching food and drinks from the tables. Mind if I sit down, governor? Just let me taste your drink. Mother, that man drank my martini. The silver cord is trampled by stampeding guests. Cut to Chez Victor, a flashy overexpensive spot with floor show. A fat hoodlum takes a mouthful of wine and spits it all over the table. Hoodlum, that isn't Chateau Yucum 69, he gets to his feet grabbing the bottle, I'm going to ram this bottle right up his. Cut to table across the room. Waiter, voila, le supreme of guinea hen bone, chef specialty of the house. He lifts a silver cover to reveal the bloated corpse of a huge sewer rat cooked in axle grease and garnished with rotten garbage. Mr. Hyde chases the wine waiter through the dining room. There are screams from other tables as covers are lifted to reveal live tarantulas, maggoty meat, a buzzard cooked in carrion. Cut to the 400, most exclusive nightclub in Manhattan. Chauffeur-driven limousines, guests in full evening dress bowed in by the obsequious doorman. Suddenly a truck stops and 50 screaming faggots leap out. They buzz by the doorman like hornets and fill the club screaming and stamping. They snatch tablecloths, drapes and curtains and do impersonation acts. One of them leaps up onto the bar and does the cigarette song from Carmen, throwing a rose to the apoplectic proprietor. In the 400 take, the faggots are speeded up, the other actors slowed down. Cut to the operations room. Bo Weinberg, Dixie Davis, Martin Krompecher, a policy boss. Dutch stands in front of the Midtown board, hands in the pockets of his dressing gown. Chez Robert, the silver cord, Chez Victor, the 400 are all stamped MIGS. Dutch, he turns to the Harlem board and a frown clouds his face, TM not happy about this graph. We are shifting to pari mutuel totals instead of treasury reports for the payoff numbers. There may be a way, an angle. He turns to Bo Weinberg, find me the top layoff man and bring him here. Cut to Dutch and Abba Dabba standing in front of the Harlem board. Dutch, what I want is a last-minute bet that will switch the third digit on a heavily played number. Funny thing about numbers, a number will be in the air one day and everybody plays it. You can't leave a thing like that to chance. I gotta have control. Can you do? Abba Dabba is silent for 10 seconds consulting his built-in computer. He gets the answer and nods. Cut to Abba Dabba in a phone booth at the track. He has the phone hooked under his chin, listening to the heavily played numbers phoned in from Dutch's banks while he keeps an eye on the pari mutuel board, the clock, and the line at the $100 counter. The warning bell sounds. He hangs up, takes a last look at the board, makes the $1 window and ruffles off a stack of $100 bills. Abba Dabba, Earl King. 6,000 to win. Bell rings. They're off. Cut to operations room. Take graph on the Harlem board is soaring. Dutch looks at it without expression. Dutch, well, that's on a sounder basis, but there's too much overhead. For one thing, the runners are overpaid. They now have full protection thanks to my organization, no payoff to meet, no legal problems. I'm cutting their percentage from 33% to Bo Weinberg, they won't stand for it. Dutch. Dutch, where will they go? Cut to hall where 2,000 striking runners have assembled. Punch bowl, sandwiches. Some of the strikers are singing Joe Hill and You Can't Scare Me, I'm Sticking to the Union. Speaker mounts platform and raises his hands for attention. He is a young Negro. Speaker, we all know why we are assembled here in this hall tonight. And I think most of us know that some workers are not here because of intimidation and threats directed against them and against their families. Well, I'm here to tell all of you that if we stand firmly together, no threats and no intimidation can prevail. Cheers from the audience. If we allow ourselves to be divided and browbeaten, where will it end? 20%? Are we going to let this happen? Cries of no 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 from the audience. Now DS. Flegenheimer tells us that we are fully protected legally, financially, and personally by his organization. He tells us there are no risks left. Well, I'd like to ask how many people in this hall have been in jail in the past week. Chorus of me, I was 2 days. And I'd like to ask how many people in this hall have paid off a bet out of their own pocket because somebody on the other end of the line made a mistake when you phoned in a number? Chorus of me. The speaker turns his face to the light to show a scar running from temple to chin, shoemaker's knife. Used to cut leather. It's cut other things too. He pulls open his shirt to show a bullet scar, 32-20. It went straight through. I was lucky. Some other workers haven't been that lucky. And then DS Flegenheimer goes down to the stale flower market and sends along some wilted petunias to the next of kin. How many of you in this hall have scars like these received in the service of DS Flegenheimer? Members of the audience pull open shirts, drop pants, part hair, open mouths. Shotgun. Baseball bat. Broken bottle. Roll of nickels. Speaker, the time to make a stand is right here and right now. Or walk out. And that doesn't mean 32%. Cheers from the audience. They wave placards, 33% or walk out. Cut to front room of Dutch's apartment. Dutch, he walks to the window and looks out. Robbery, that's what it is, highway robbery. I built this organization with my brains and muscle. If it wasn't for me, those runners wouldn't have jobs. Bo Weinberg, Dutch, they've been on strike for a week now. We could lose the whole territory. No money coming in to meet the payroll. Dutch, I guess the organization means more than beating this strike. He bows his head in defeat. All right. Back to work at 33%. Cut to newspaper headline, Dutch Shultz surrenders. To stand trial. Chorus of underworld voices. Cut to Midtown nightclub office. Nobody beats a federal case like that. Cut to office of union. The Dutchman is going away. Cut to Miami swimming pool robes, dark glasses. Mobster, 5 years at least. 2 mobsters in deck chairs, bath mobster 2, he won't come back. Cut to Saratoga racetrack club bar. 10 years. The Dutchman is through. Cut to newspaper headlines. Dutch Shultz released on $75,000 bail. Cut to Dutch's headquarters. Dixie Davis, Lulu Rosenkrantz, Abe Landau, Bo Weinberg. Lulu Rosenkrantz has a gold deputy badge pinned to his vest. Bo Weinberg looks at the badge with disgust. Dixie Davis, first step is a change of venue, upstate someplace. Farmers don't like to pay income tax any more than you do. Next step is to build up your public image. Cut to the office of Bradshaw Duncan Public Relations Counselors. The office is quiet and luxurious. There is a Modigliani on the wall. Behind the desk a white-haired man with soft, beautifully manicured hands. As he talks he punctuates his words with long pauses during which his eyes mist over dreamily. Mr. Bradshaw, well Mr. Flegenheimer, we need a peg to hang it on, pause, something that will take hold, pause, something that people will associate with your name, long dreamy pause, how about this? Mr. Flegenheimer, the man who collects rare books? Dutch, Arthur Flegenheimer, the man who collects rare books. I like that. Cut to car stopping in front of bookshop. Lulu Rosenkrantz at the wheel. Dutch, Dixie Davis, Bo Weinberg get out with a stooped gray-haired man. Dutch, to proprietor who has come forward to meet them, I want to see the rarest books you have in stock. Proprietor, well sir, we have a number of rare items. Some in fact are unique. Is this in the nature of an investment, sir? Dutch, well yes, you might say so. Proprietor, there is no sounder investment, sir. Now here is a Dutch, picking up a small book, $12,000, not a bad way to move money around. Proprietor, yes indeed sir. It's gilt edge really. Dutch, turning to the gray-haired man, all right Mr. Goldstein, look them over. Mr. Goldstein touches the books with expert fingers. Several he pushes aside. Mr. Goldstein, you won't go wrong on these, Mr. Flegenheimer. Dutch, good. Wrap them up. Proprietor, is that a check, sir? Dutch, no. Cash. Cut to car loaded with books. Dutch, turning to Bo Weinberg, and now call in the cut to Malone, New York. 1930, Main Street. Evergreen Hotel. Porter, putting down suitcase, that case sure is heavy. Bo Weinberg, tipping him, books. Almost before the porter shuts the door, Lulu Rosenkrantz dives into suitcase, pulls out a bottle and mixes a drink for Dutch. Bo Weinberg looks at him with hatred. Dixie Davis and the Whisperer are also in the room. Dutch, settling himself into the most comfortable chair, okay. Whisperer, here are your lines. Arthur Flegenheimer, the man who collects rare books. The Whisperer, without moving his lips, Arthur Flegenheimer, the man who collects rare books. A slow, thick, sticky sound that stirs in the throat. Dixie Davis clutches his throat uneasily. Dutch, the Dutchman's trouble could be yours or mine. The Whisperer, the Dutchman's trouble could be yours or mine. Dutch, taking away from a man what he makes honest. The Whisperer, taking away from a man what he makes honest. Dutch, and what does the government do with the money T bleed out of you? Send around experts from Washington. Tell you what to plant. The Whisperer, and what does the government do with the money they bleed out of you? Send around experts from Washington. Tell you what to plant. Dutch, Arthur Flegenheimer. His trouble could be yours or mine. The Whisperer, Arthur Flegenheimer. His trouble could be yours or Dutch, his face suddenly ugly, bunch of communistic Jews in Washington. Dixie Davis, Arthur. No. Dutch, all right, forget that line. Dutch, Arthur Flegenheimer, friendly generous. The Whisperer, Arthur Flegenheimer, friendly generous. Dutch, his trouble could be yours or mine. The Whisperer, his trouble could be yours or mine. Dutch, Arthur Flegenheimer, the man who collects rare books. The Whisperer, Arthur Flegenheimer, the man who collects rare books. Dutch, he wouldn't hurt a fly. The Whisperer, he wouldn't hurt a fly. Cut to press conference. Reporters from local papers. Dutch introduces the Whisperer as my secretary. Whiskey and glasses on the sideboard. Reporter, is it true, Mr. Flegenheimer, that you have sold illegal beer? The Whisperer, so he sells beer? What's wrong with that? Dutch, yes. I don't believe in taking beer away from the working man just because the federal government says so. Reporter, but you did break the law. Dutch, well, if breaking the law makes a man a criminal, then we are all descended from criminals. Our ancestors broke King George's law, remember. Reporter, but surely, Mr. Flegenheimer, you can't compare. Dutch, excuse me. A fly is buzzing against the window. Dutch crosses the room, catches the fly delicately between thumb and forefinger, opens the window and puts the fly out. Live and let live. He stands in the light of the window looking wise and benevolent, waiting for someone to take his picture. The Whisperer, take his picture. Reporter, will you hold that, Mr. Flegenheimer? He takes picture. The Whisperer, he wouldn't hurt a fly. Throughout the scene it is apparent that the actors cannot consciously hear what the Whisperer is saying. Cut to town library, spinster librarian, head of the Chamber of Commerce, reporter from the local paper, Dutch, Dixie Davis, Lulu Rosenkrantz. The Whisperer is disguised as an out-of-town photograph. Dutch, donating these volumes from my private collection. Librarian, oh, Mr. Flegenheimer, they're beautiful. Chamber of Commerce, on behalf of the city of Malone. The Whisperer, may I take a picture, Mr. Flegenheimer? Dutch smiles, holding up a book. The Whisperer snaps picture and whispers. Arthur Flegenheimer, the man who collects rare books. Cut to stock fair. Dutch, Bo Weinberg, Dixie Davis, Lulu Rosenkrantz, pet pigs and steers. Dutch makes a lavish contribution to the prize money. It is a bright sunny day, smiling faces, balloons, popcorn, peanuts. The whisperer is there disguised as a farmer. His whispers mix with the sounds of the fair. Dutch walks by a circle of yokels. One is saying to the others, we like apple pie and we like each other. It's just as simple as that. Dutch, oh God. The whisperer, staking what a man makes honest, moo moo, away from him, oink oink, the Dutchman's trouble, cackle cackle, could be yours, cries of children from the merry-go-round, or mine, hog-calling contest, experts from Washington cut to church supper. Virginia hams and smoked turkeys contributed by Mr. Flegenheimer. The whisperer is there disguised as a visiting clergyman. The whisperer, Arthur Flegenheimer, generous, cut to all the farmers shoving Dutch's ham and turkey into their faces, friendly, cut to Dutch who balances a paper plate on his knee smiling, his trouble could be yours or mine. Cut to softball game for local politicians and businessmen. Cold buffet and a keg of beer contributed by Arthur Flegenheimer. The whisperer, so he sells beer. Cut to fat politicians drinking Dutch's beer, what's wrong with that? Dutch does a pratfall to avoid catching the mayor's fly. He looks up from the ground smiling. The whisperer, Arthur Flegenheimer, he wouldn't hurt a fly. Cut to stock fair, grey windy day, the merry-go-round out of order. A cock strikes at Dutch's leg. For a split second his face goes black and ugly. He composes his face and smiles genially. A sullen child eating peanuts does not smile back. Dutch, let's get out of here. I need a drink. Cut to room in the Old Harmony Hotel, Cohees, New York, high ceilings, red curtains, death of Stonewall Jackson on the wall. Dutch, Martin Krompier, Dixie Davis, Jules Martin on stage. Bottle of whiskey on the table is almost empty. Dutch pours himself the rest of it. His expression is black and ugly. Smiling faces of Dutch at stock fairs and church suppers flicker in and out of the black ugly thing that snarls in his face now. Dutch, local 16 $1,800. He addresses question to Jules Martin. Jules Martin, that's right, Dutch. Repeal has spread the business around. Dutch, let's see the accounts. Jules Martin takes the accounts out of a briefcase and hands them to Dutch. Dutch studies the accounts. Slowly, silently his expression gets uglier and lights up in color like an enraged octopus. Abhuth the unclean is surfacing. Dutch, what's this? Personal expenses $828. Dutch slams the accounts down on the table and advances on Jules Martin until their faces are inches apart. Jules Martin, what it says, Dutch. Dutch, and I say you've been clipping me. Jules Martin, look Dutch, I don't owe you a nickel. Dutch, what do you mean you haven't been clipping me? Cut to Dixie Davis and Martin Krompier bored and yawning. Martin Krompier leafs through the Saturday Evening Post. On the cover, boy is waving to a train. Dixie Davis looks at his nails. Jules Martin opens his mouth to say something else. Dutch, shut up, you got a big mouth. As he says this, he hitches up his vest and pulls a pistol from an inside belt holster. He puts the pistol right in Jules Martin's mouth and pulls the trigger. Notes on this scene: technique is project the faces of Dutch smiling at church suppers and stock fairs, the benevolent face he puts on to put the fly out onto Dutch's usually present rhyme face flickering projections so that faces alternate smile and snarl. This can be done by projecting smile takes on Dutch's face and rephotographing. Or XE faces can be cut in. Effect is produced by rapid alternation. As the film shifts to color, projections and alternating current continue. However, as Abhuth and tentacles surface in the Dutchman, the screen is wider. Other scenes and faces appear. The Reichstag fire, Hitler Youth burning books, the cool gray face of Ivar Kruger the Match King. We see other faces in the church suppers and stock fairs: barefoot boy from a Saturday Evening Post cover, the man who said we like apple pie and we like each other, it's just as simple as that, the proud winner of a hog-calling contest. At the point where Dutch says shut up you got a big mouth, the smile takes stop and we shift to direct current as Abhuth takes over Hitler's face at its ugliest, rants on screen, snarling cops kick a Negro in the groin, insane contorted faces, blast wrecks an apartment building. Dutch has lost all human resemblance. 2. Acting in this scene is done with all stops removed. The tone is utter insanity. Jules Martin falls screaming and moaning to the floor. His screaming bloody face, smoke coming out his mouth, the horrible grisly groans from his torn throat flicker on the Dutchman's snarling ugly face, and something uglier behind the face is eating Martin's moans. Dixie Davis and Martin Krompier jump up aghast. The Saturday Evening Post falls to the floor. They clutch each other and go into the next room. Cut to Lulu Rosenkrantz tilted back in a chair, his deputy badge showing. Lulu Rosenkrantz, phlegmatically without moving, what happened? Martin Krompier, Dutch is crazy. He just shot a man for nothing. Dutch comes in putting away his pistol. He looks worried. Dutch, give me a drink, Lulu. Lulu comes down heavy on his feet, walks heavily across the room and mixes Dutch a drink. Dutch, taking a long swallow, turns to Dixie Davis. Dick, you must hate me for this. Dixie Davis, to do a thing like that right in front of me, Arthur. He moans, after all I'm a professional man. Jules Martin is still moaning and screaming from the next room. Dixie Davis, getting out of here. He snatches up his coat and briefcase. Martin Krompier is edging towards the door. Dutch looks at him and he stops edging. Lulu Rosenkrantz stands there stolid and stupid. He is the only man on set who does not feel the danger. Dixie Davis opens the door a crack and looks out. A Negro porter walks by whistling Home Sweet Home down the empty corridor. Cut to the little red schoolhouse and the old homestead. Above, the unclean flickers briefly in and out and shuts off. Cut to road corner, stone bridge, rainbow over a stream, green fields. Boy from the Saturday Evening Post cover is lying on his stomach, feet curled over his thighs, eating an apple. A book is open on the grass in front of him. Book is Kipling's Kim. Cut to jury room. The jurors clack like ventriloquist dummies. They leap to their feet with angular puppet movements. Juror I, jumping up, taking what a man makes honest, pig and cow faces projected onto juror with sound effects. Juror 2, experts from Washington telling us what to plant. Faces of Internal Revenue agents projected on juror. Jurors 3, 4, 5, jumping up, the Dutchman's trouble could be yours or mine. Dutch's face projected onto jurors. Juror 6, jumping up, Arthur Flegenheimer, generous, friendly. Dutch's smiling faces projected onto juror. Juror 7, jumping up, so he sells beer? What's wrong with that? Face of politician drinking Dutch's beer at the softball game projected. Juror 8, jumping up, Arthur Flegenheimer, the man who collects rare books. Dutch's face at library presentation projected. Juror 9, jumping up, he wouldn't hurt a fly. Dutch's face at the window after putting the fly out is projected. Jurors 10, 11, 12, jumping up, all the jurors chant in chorus, his trouble could be yours or mine. Dutch's face projected onto all of them. Cut to newspaper headline, Dutch Shultz acquitted on tax charges. Judge upbraids jury. Cut to office of the fighting DA. It is the end of a press conference, the reporters putting away cameras and notebooks. The DA is alone. He sits at his desk looking into the camera and his face goes through some changes which are pictures of his own face at various intersection points and other faces substituted for his. Cut to press conference, Dutch Shultz will be arrested as soon as he sets foot in New York State. Cut to D.A.'s office. He flicks a switch, send in Ahern and coin. The two investigators stand in front of his desk with briefcases. Drop everything else and concentrate on Dutch Shultz. Keep digging. His mustache bristles with indignation, fearless fighting racket busting DA faces flicker in and out. Now something else creeps in, feral and furtive intent on its prey. He is demanding the death penalty for the killer and 2 lookouts in a robbery. The DA, remind the jury that was a particularly brutal crime. The victim, an old watchman of 76 years, was beaten over the head with this instrument. The DA snatches up an iron bar with a label tied to it, not once but 23 times. Cut to Harlem, Negro reading paper says, "Boy, that's my number." Cut back to courtroom. The killer, a gawky youth with glasses, looks dully at the floor. DA. And I say to you that these 2 lookouts, he points to 2 cringing Puerto Rican youths, are as guilty of murder as if they had themselves taken up this instrument and beat that old man's brains. The killer's face pops in his staring out through brain-splashed glasses. As one man the jury leaps to their feet, eyes blazing with righteous rage. The jury, guilty. Fry them all. Fearless fighting DA. Can you get us tickets? We want to watch them fry. The DA stands under popping flash bulbs, watching faces of the killer and the jury leer in and out. The electric chair superimposed out twisted, their smoke curling up from his leg. The D.A.'s face ilazy with an inner light that shines through his sharp teeth and turns his mustache to white fire. Hooded face of the youth projected onto his. Smoke curls out from under the hood and rises to the ceiling. Cut to the house Dutch has rented in Stockport, Connecticut. Dutch in riding clothes with a pistol in his belt. He looks like he might back a guest into a corner and start talking about small arm ballistics. My .35 Magnum would drop you quick and clean. It is a horsey rumus room, yellow wood paneling, fox hunt prints, saddles at the gar. There are 2 toilets, one labeled Marais and the other Stallions. The Madison Avenue look, yeah, that's what he is, president of Amalgamated Execs, down for a weekend in the country. He likes to pit his generals against each other like Napoleon. Bo Weinberg, like a seedy jailbird uncle at a family reunion, quietly sneers at Rosencrantz's batch. Dutch, L. guess Bo thinks he's somebody special with all his big midtown friends, don't you, Bo? Bo Weinberg, calm and dignified, one never said anything like that, Dutch. Dutch, ignoring Bo, turns to Dixie Davis. Are we still confined to this pleasant country seat and the precincts of Newark? Dixie Davis, L. guess so, Arthur. That new DA just won't shake hands. Dutch, he's my nemesis. The guns in chorus, yeah, that's what he is, a nemesis. Only Bo Weinberg does not join in. Dutch, and he's got to be hit on the head. The guns, and he's got to be hit on the head. Dutch, and now I have a treat for all of you, followed by an obstacle race. Lulu Rosencrantz, oh boy. A softball game. Bo Weinberg, for Christ's sake, Dutch, it's 90 in the shade. Cut to Bo Weinberg and Lulu in a 3-legged race. They stumble and fall in a sweating, snarling heap. Cut back to Rumpus Room. Dixie Davis, Bo was a popular guy, Arthur. Dutch, I've told you it was an accident. Now I don't want to hear his name again, and that's a house rule. He goes to the bar and pours himself a stiff drink. His face contorts and he pounds the bar, sobbing. That DA. He's my nemesis. The guns are aghast. Rosencrantz recovers first. He rushes over and throws an arm around Dutch's shoulders. Dutch, still sobbing, I'm going to call a board meeting. Cut to board meeting. Chairman, you all know the reason for this meeting. We are here to decide whether any definitive action is to be taken with regard to the overzealous young district attorney. He pauses expectantly. Chuckles ripple round the board table. Dutch, one say he's got to be hit on the head. Gura, go along with that. I'm against it. Bad business. Undecided. Have to think about it. Dutch, well, while you're thinking, why not figure out how to do the job, Chairman? That makes sense. I suggest that we adjourn until next Tuesday. That will give those of you who are undecided time to make up your minds. Meanwhile, we can formulate a plan to be put in operation if liquidation is favored by a majority vote at the next meeting. Cut to apartment entrance. The stakeout man equipped with a child on a velocipede is on the sidewalk in front of apartment. The DA emerges with his two bodyguards. Pushing his son on the velocipede, the stakeout man follows. The DA goes to a drug store. He goes inside while the guards stand at the door. The stakeout man with his child is now in front of the drug store. "Child, I want an ice cream cone, daddy." The stakeout man throws a keen glance into the drug store. The camera follows his eyes inside. The DA is in the phone booth. Albert Stern is arguing with the druggist who looks down his bifocals at a morphine prescription. Stern, weakly, "I'll tell you it's a legitimate prescription." Druggist, "Maybe. Just don't be coming in here with your prescriptions every Tuesday and Thursday." The stakeout man pushes his velocipede on down the street. Cut to stakeout man in phone booth. Stakeout man, every morning at 9 a.m. he comes out with his bodyguards, goes to drug store on the corner of N and makes a phone call. The phone booth is a natural. Cut to scene showing plan to kill the racket buster as it would operate. DA and bodyguards walk out. The man with the velocipede and the child is there. Woman with a baby carriage stops and talks to him. The scene conveys familiarity, reassurance, dullness. Nothing is going to happen. Nothing can happen. The DA takes in the scene and smiles. DA. Striding towards the drugstore, "This is a great country, those people back there, it's our job to see that people like that are protected." Bodyguard, indifferently stifling a yawn, "Yes sir. Like the judge says, you gotta take a broad general view of things, it's just not good business." The chairman, "You are outvoted, Mr. Flegenheimer." Dutch is on his feet, groggy but stubborn like a confused viper. Dutch, "But you can't just scrap the setup, it's a natural." The chairman, "You are outvoted, Mr. Flegenheimer." Dutch, "I'll say he's gotta be hit on the head." He speaks very intensely and his face comes into sharp focus, then blurs out blank and dead. October 23, 1935. A fragmentary presentation of news stories, weather reports for that day. Cut to car entering the Holland Tunnel, Piggy at the wheel. His heavy-set body is part of the car. He is a stolid pilot delivering tomorrow's headlines. The hulking, snarling strangler Mendy Weiss sits sullenly on the jump seat. In the back seat are two killers, Charlie the bug workman and his associate Jimmy the shrew. Charlie Workman is a cool casual killer dressed in a tailor-made twilight blue suit. He is curly-haired, hatless. He has cold metallic gray eyes. He is relaxed, calm, disdainful. The other killer, Jimmy the shrew, is a thin young man, intense, immobile. He is dressed in a tight pea green suit and gray fedora. His ears stick out trembling slightly. The killers are spectral actors in future time. A flash of their faces in color. The workman's cold metallic eyes, his curly hair and pale face. The shrew, smooth poreless red skin drawn tight over the cheekbones, lips parted from long yellow teeth the color of old ivory, his black eyes shining. The tunnel lights ring their heads with an orange halo. They are angels of death. Cut to back room of the Palace Chop House. The Dutchman is sitting at a table with Lulu Rosenkrantz, Abe Landau and Otto Dabba Berman. Beer mugs on the table, cigar smoking in the ashtray. Abba Dabba is working an adding machine and writing figures down on ledger paper. He passes the accounts to Dutch. Dutch, smiles, asterisk gross for past 7 weeks 827,253. Net 148,369. Not bad. Not bad at all. He stands up, "I got a call from nature. Right back." Cut to death car stopping in front of the Palace Chop House. Mendy, shrew and workman get out. Workman looks up and down. The workman and the shrew slide through the door. Mendy stations himself at the door. Cut to empty bar. Workman, "Hit the deck, 4 eyes." The bartender disappears behind the bar. Workman, flanked by the shrew, starts down the long bar to the back room. He is cool, unhurried, casual. As he walks he unbuttons his coat and hitches his thumbs around 2 revolvers stuck in his belt. They reach the end of the bar. Workman, check the head, shrew. The shrew slips an old Army .45 revolver from a shoulder holster. This gun is chambered for the .45 automatic cartridge. His arms are pipe stems, his wrists and hands smooth and hairless as scar tissue. He is wearing flexible pointed black shoes. He steps to the door of the washroom and opens it. Dutch is washing his hands with his back to the door. The shrew fires. A splash of red appears on Dutch's back over the liver. Cut to back room. At sound of the shot, the three men in the back room dive for their guns. Charlie Workman is standing in the doorway. He fires with cool accuracy, ripping Landau's paunch with slugs. He drops an empty gun in his right-hand coat pocket, shifts the other gun to his right hand and goes on shooting. The shrew is at his side. He steadies the heavy revolver with his left hand, holding it just behind the cylinder, and pivots his body with each shot. Yellow light outlines the two killers with the halo we have already seen in the Holland Tunnel. They are creatures from another world, gods of death. Notes on last scene. Cut back to the hospital. The doctor has given Shultz another shot of morphine. Morphine administered to someone who is not an ADDICR produces a rush of pictures in the brain as if seen from a speeding train. The pictures are dim, jerky, grainy like an old film. As Shultz lies there delirious, the pictures of his life rush past. The scene featuring Dutch Schultz's last words cannot be presented in full detail here, since it is made up of material of the film presented in arbitrary sequences. Dutch's delirium is of course a dialogue, and many of the lines are what somebody else said at the time. Dutch: George, don't make no fool moves. He pats George s. I tell you it was an accident. Weinberg on the shoulder. George: Weinberg, what have you done with him? Dutch: oh mama mama mama. He turns into a woman in childbirth, then into a baby. Baby Dutch: WAAA mother Dutch, shut up, you got a big mouth. She shoves Doug in his mouth. Baby Dutch: go. Cop: who shot you? Dutch: I was in the toilet, picture on the wall. Bleak public school toilet, dirty Albert Stern, he acts in a plaintive lost voice, Arthur Flegenheimer. Arthur F. Heimer. Arthur Flegenheimer. Dutch: mama don't tear, don't rip. Horrendous maternity Albert Stern, please let me get in and eat. Dr. Stern's face half covered by surgical mask. Dutch: and when I reached the... Stern reaches up and takes off mask. Horrible street boy face. Dutch: the boy came at me. Cry of newborn baby. Negro in corridor checks the time. Cop: don't holler. Dutch sitting at gambling table. Abba Dabba gives him the nod. He shoves a stack of chips on mother. Dutch: mother is the best bet. He shoves a third of the stack onto the priest. Dutch: and don't let Satan draw you too fast. A priest bends over the bed, dank smell of cold stone and incense. Dutch: be instrumental in letting us know. It takes all events into consideration. Abba Dabba turns from the ticket window. He throws out two fingers at the tote board and the third digit changes to Z. Dutch: oh, and then he clips me. Jules Martin: look, I don't owe you a nickel. Dutch: cut that out, we don't owe a nickel. Jules Martin in the Old Harmony Hotel. Dutch: want harmony, he is arguing with. The porter whistles Home Sweet Home down an empty corridor. Boys beckon to Dutch from a Saturday railroad bridge. The train whistles. Buttocks of the red-haired boy projected onto the Grand Canyon, Pikes Peak, Niagara Falls. Dutch: a boy has never wept. Stonebridge rainbow over a stream. Boy on his stomach eating an apple, book open on the grass in front of him. Dutch: nor dashed 1,000 Kim. The boy is reading Kim. Dutch: please crack down on the Chinaman's friend. Hearst's Yellow Peril cartoons on screen. Dutch: S. and Hitler's commander. Anti-Semitic cartoons from Der Völkischer Beobachter. Francis Schultz comes in. Francis Schultz, struggling in a shroud: open this up and break it so I can touch you. Dutch: Danny, please help me in the ear. He is helped to a car by Vincent Cole singing Danny Boy. Cop, puts his hand on Francis Shultz's shoulder. You're just stirring him up, lady. Will you wait outside, please? Male nurse comes in with hypo of morphine on a tray. He is the young junkie from the prison scene. He watches the shot drain into Dutch's arm. Male nurse, feeling better, Dad? The cop, very bored and very tired, who shot you? Dutch, speaking in a petulant matter-of-fact voice, I don't know who shot me. I don't know who can have done it. Anybody. As if they'd send around somebody I knew. Camera shows panorama of city devastated by atomic bombing. The camera plummets into a slum of metal rubbish heaps, dry teat a terrible bright sun. Boys gather around a camera, faces scarred with hatred, evil and despair. They are in rags, flesh streaked with coal and metal dust. They hold shards of blistered metal in their outstretched hands. Dutch, come on, open the soap ducats. Lulu Rosenkrantz as a gum-chewing tech sergeant sticks his head out of crippled spaceship. Lulu, function negative. Dutch, the chimney sweeps take to the sword. The boys rush phone Vard. Dutch, shut up, you got a big mouth. He shoots Martin in the mouth. Abhuth the unclean turns green with fear at sight of the atomic street boys. Dutch, Canadian bean soup. He disguises himself as Rainbow Jack slurping bean soup. Dutch, I want to pay. The actors clutching bullet holes hold out their hands. Cole. Jules Martin, Bo Weinberg, Lulu Rosenkrantz, Abe Landau. Abadaba looks at the tote board which reads Dutch, let them leave me alone. All the actors drain into the face of Albert Stern. Transcript of Dutch Schultz's last words. George, don't make no fool moves. What have you done with him? Oh, mama, mama, mama. Oh, stop it, oh, oh, oh. Sure, mama. Shultz at this time was irrational and running a fever of 106 degrees. Sergeant Luke Conlon and other detectives from Newark Police Headquarters and from the prosecutor's office were at his bedside. One of the officers had a newspaper. Shultz noticed it and said, has it been in any other papers? Now listen, Phil, fun is fun. Ah, please, Papa. What happened to the 16? Oh, he done it? Please. John, please. Oh, did you buy the hotel? You promised $1 million, sure. Get out, I wished I knew. Please make it quick, fast and furious. Please. Fast and furious. Please help me get out, I am getting my wind back, thank God. Please, oh, please. You will have to please tell him, you got no case. You get ahead with the dot-dash system. Didn't I speak that time last night? Whose number is that in your pocketbook, Phil? 13,780. Who was it? Oh please. Reserve decision. Police, Henry and Frankie. Oh, dog biscuits, and when he is happy he doesn't get snappy. Please to do this. Then Henry, Frankie. Oh, you didn't meet him, you didn't even meet me. The glove will fit what I say. Oh, Kaya Yi. Sure, who cares when you are through? Now do you know this? How do you know this? Well, then oh, Coco no thinks he is a grandpa again. He is jumping around. No hobo and pabo, I think it means the same thing. When he was questioned by Sergeant Conlon, the following exchange took place. Q, who shot you? A, the boss himself. Q, he did. A, yes, I don't know. Q, what did he shoot you for? A, I showed him, boss, do you hear him, meet me? An appointment. Appeal stuck. All right, mother. Q, was it the boss shot you? A, who shot me? No one. Q, we will help you. A, will you get me up? Okay. I won't be such a big oh, mama, I can't go through with it, please. He clips me, Come on. Cut that out, we don't owe a nickel, hold it, instead, hold it against him, I am a pretty good pretzler Winifred Department of Justice. I even got it from the department. Sir, please stop it. Say listen the last night. Q, don't holler. A, I don't want to holler Q. What did they shoot you for? A, I don't know, sir, honestly I don't. I don't even know who was with me, honestly. I went to the toilet. I was in the toilet and when I reached the boy came at me. Q, the big fellow gave it to you? A, yes, he gave it to me. Q, do you know who this big fellow was? A, no. If we wanted to break the ring no, please I get a month. They did it? Come on. A name not clear, cut me off and says you are not to be the beneficiary of this will. Is that right? I will be checked and double checked and please pull for me. Will you pull? How many good ones and how many bad ones? Please I had nothing with him he was a cowboy in one of the 7 days a week fight. No business, no hangout, no friends, nothing, just what you pick up and what you need. I don't know who shot me. Don't put anyone near this check, you might have please do it for me. Let me get up, hat. In the olden days they waited and they waited. Please give me shot. It is from the factory. Sure, that is a bad well, oh good ahead that happens for trying. I don't want harmony. I want harmony. Oh, mama, mama. Who give it to him? Who give it to him? Let me in the district fire factory that he was nowhere near. It smoldered. No, no. There are only 10 of us, there are 10 million fighting somewhere of you, so get your onions up and we will throw up the truce flag. Oh, please let me up, please shift me. Police are here. Communistic strike baloney honestly this is a habit I get, sometimes I give it and sometimes I don't. Oh, I am all in. That settles it? Are you sure? Please let me get in and eat. Let him harness himself to you and then bother you. Please don't ask me to go there. I don't want to. I still don't want him in the path. It is no use to stage a riot. The sidewalk was in trouble and the bears were in trouble and I broke it up. Please put me in that room. Please keep him in control. My guilt-edge stuff and those dirty rats have tuned in. Please, mother, don't tear, don't rip, that is something that shouldn't be spoken about. Please get me up, my friends. Please, look out, the shooting is a bit wild, and that kind of shooting saved a man's life. No payrolls. No walls. No coupons. That would be entirely out. Pardon me, I forgot I am plaintiff and not defendant. Look out. Look out for him. Please. He owed me money, he owes everyone money. Why can't he just pull out and give me control? Please mother you pick me up now. Please, you know me. No. Don't you scare me. My friends and I think I do a better job. Police are looking for you all over. Be instrumental in letting us know. They are Englishmen and they are a type and I don't know who is best, they or us. Oh, sir, get the dollar roofing. You can play jacks and girls do that with a softball and do tricks with it? It takes all events into consideration. No. No. And it is no. It is confused and it says no. A boy has never wept nor dashed 1,000 Kim. Did you hear me? Q, who shot you? I don't know. A. Q, the doctor wants you to lie quiet. A, that is what I want to do. How many shots were fired? Q. A. I don't know. Q, how many? A, 2,000. Come on, get some money in that treasury. We need it. Come on, please get it. I can't tell you to. That is not what you have in the book. Oh, please warden. What am I going to do for money? Please put me up on my feet at once. You are a hard-boiled man. Did you hear me? I would hear it, and the Supreme Court might hear it. If that ain't the payoff. Please crack down on the Chinaman's friends and Hitler's commander. I am sore and I am going up and I am going to give you honey if I can. Mother is the best bet and don't let Satan draw you too fast. Q. What did the big fellow shoot you for? A. Him John? Over $1 million, $5 million. You want to get well, don't you? Q. A. Yes. Q. Then lie quiet. A. Yes, I will lie quiet. Q. John shot you and we will take care of John. A. That is what caused the trouble. Look out. Please get me up. If you do this, you can go on and jump right here in the lake. I know who they are. They are French people. All RIT. Look out, look out. PH, my memory is gone. A work ref. Police. Who gets it? I don't know and I don't want to know, but look out. It can be traced. He changed for the worse. Please look out, my fortunes have changed and come back and went back since that. It was desperate. I am wobbly. You ain't got nothing on him but we got it on his helper. Q. Control yourself. A. But I am dying. Q. No, you are not. A. Come on, mama. All right, dear, you have to get it. At this point, Shultz's wife, Frances, was brought to his bedside. She said, "This is Frances," and Shultz began to talk again. They pull me out. I am half crazy. They won't let me get up. They dyed my shoes. Open those shoes. Give me something. I am so sick. Give me some water, the only thing that I want. Open this up and break it so I can touch you. Danny, please get me in the car. At this point, Mrs. Shultz left the room. Sergeant Conlon questioned Shultz again. Q. Who shot you? A. I don't know. I didn't even get a look. I don't know who can have done it. Anybody? Kindly take my shoes off. He was told that they were off. No, there's a handcuff o' them. The Baron says these things. I know what I am doing here with my collection of papers. It isn't worth a nickel to two guys like you or me, but to a collector it is worth a fortune. It is priceless. I am going to turn it over to. Turn your back to me, please, Henry. I am so sick now. The police are getting many complaints. Look out. I want that G note. Look out for Jimmy Valentine for he is an old pal of mine. Come on, Jim. Okay, I am all through. Can't do another thing. Look out, Mama, look out for her. You can't beat him. Police, Mama, Helen, Mother, please take me out. I will settle the indictment. Come on, open the soap ducats. The chimney sweeps. Take to the sword. Shut up, you got a big mouth. Please help me up, Henry. Max, come over here. French Canadian bean soup. I want to pay. Let them leave me alone. Shultz sank into unconsciousness then. It was 6:40 p.m. He died 2 hours later, without saying anything else.